This podcast is made possible in part through a partnership with TrueFire. TrueFire is the most comprehensive guitar learning experience on the internet, with over 51,000 guitar lessons from the best educators in the world. It makes TrueFire the #1 most trusted music education resource for guitar players. We as guitar players sometimes get fixated on the gear that we play, and we neglect the skill level that we play. And many of us have a hard time finding instructors locally. TrueFire bridges that gap. You can find my affiliate link below to get 40% off with my code 40watt of your first purchase through TrueFire. Learn, practice, play, TrueFire. You've got a pedal board full of mismatched patch cables that are a little spotty from gig to another. You're always hunting for one that's going bad. They don't fit. You can't squeeze enough pedals on your pedal board. That's how I was until I discovered Tour Gear Design's patch cables. They're the smallest patch cables in the game. They're rock solid, extremely dependable, and I love what they make. And now I've partnered with Tour Gear Designs to get you 10% off your order by using the affiliate code down below in the description box. You can get 10% off using code 40watt, 40WATT, but this deal gets even better. For my Patreon supporters, you actually are eligible for 20% off. You have to register with the same email address you use on Patreon and message the company, say you're one of my Patreon supporters, and you can get 20% off your order with Tour Gear Designs, the best patch cables in the game. This podcast is made possible by the support of many wonderful people over on Patreon. If you would like to support this show and help make sure it keeps going, you can go over to patreon.com/40wattpodcast, where for as little as $3 a month, you can help make sure this show keeps happening. Thank you for all of your support. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the newest episode of the 40 Watt Podcast. My name is Philip. I am your host. If you expected me to say what episode number this is, you're wrong, because I'm a musician and I count to 4. Once we get past there, we're done. I even count 5 in sets of 3 and 2, so it's weird. Before we get kicked off, I'm going to thank all of my Patreon supporters. You have heard the spiel at the beginning of this episode, if you are not a Patreon supporter, about how important that support is. I'm not going to reiterate that, but if you want to support the podcast, you can go over to 40watt. You can go to 40wattpodcast.com, or you can go to patreon.com/40wattpodcast, and you can support the podcast at varying levels. You can do everything from $3, which gets you this episode without any ads. Now, ads, you may ask, there are ads? Yes, there are ads sometimes. As I get supporters and Patreon and ad options, there are ads in the episode. You can skip all those if you just $3 a month. For $5 or more, you get extra content. And at the $50 level, you will get lessons. We will do guitar lessons, bass lessons, keyboard lessons. If you want to learn to play keys or synth or something like that, we'll do it. Or we'll do, actually, my only right now, hey, Blake, my only top level Patreon supporter, we're actually going through music theory. So I'm teaching music theory using jazz standards and pop tunes. So if you want to learn something, there's a couple of slots left for that. I have to limit that because y'all, I don't have a lot of time, but I will do it for y'all. Anyway, thank you, Patreon supporters. I'm going to name off my Patreon supporters that I currently have, and I appreciate every single one of you. Bradley Jones, Jordan Glash, Duncan Watson, Andy Johns, David Evangelista of the Guitar Dads podcast, Blake Jefferson, Nick Call, Andrew Hensley, Alan Gresham, Dan Pilver of Lewitt Audio, Scott Hamilton of the Effects Loop podcast, Andy Koning, Jim Burns, Tom Kelly, Heath Batt, Ben Fair of Electromotive Sound Company, Rick Calhoun of Honey Picks, Jeffrey Walks, and Kyle Harris. I appreciate all of you. I recently sent out some picks to some of y'all who have been with me for more than a year, which blows my mind. Actually, I got a couple of you who've been with me for 2 years at this point. I can't believe I've been doing this podcast for 2 years. It's mind-boggling. I can't believe y'all keep listening, and thank you for keep going. Now, we're going to move into this episode. That's it. No more shilling, maybe. So this week, I'm super excited. This is an episode I've wanted to happen for a little while, but we haven't been able to connect until now. I've got Mike Puisheen Adams on the show. Mike, how are you, sir?
Hi, I'm well. How are you, Philip?
I'm doing well. I want to mention that I love your shirt you're rocking. For you audio listeners, he is rocking what I like to call the Brady Bunch Star Trek shirt.
That's absolutely what it is.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's got all the characters from Next Generation. My wife and I are going through Next Gen right now. She has never seen any of the Star Trek stuff.
What a beautiful thing to do with your spouse. Oh,
Right?
oh,
So
it's going to bring y'all closer together.
I think it
100%.
already has. I think it already has. We
What?
actually, so we've been doing it slowly. We've been
Hmm.
going an episode or two a night as we have time.
Okay.
And so we're in season 7 now, though.
Oh
So
my
we're in the
gosh.
home stretch.
What was your favorite overall season so far? What did
Oh,
you two
man.
really resonate with?
So Star Trek is such an interesting show because it started out they didn't really know what to do with it, and you
Oh,
can
for sure.
feel
Yeah.
it. You can feel it. That first like 2.5 seasons,
Yeah.
I won't call it a train wreck because it's not, but you can tell
Yeah.
that they didn't know what to do with the uniforms alone got better after that
Oh,
because
yeah,
they
for
didn't know what
sure.
they were doing.
Yeah, and some of those scripts are rumored to be leftovers that never got filmed for the original series that were reworked, stuff like
Which
that. Like
you
the
can
Naked
feel.
Now, you can totally feel like where everybody catches a horny virus, and that's the second episode, and you're like, okay, let's
You mean
see
the
where this
entire
goes.
point of Will Riker?
The entire point of Will Riker, a character who he has some episodes in retrospect that I watch now through a completely different lens, like A
Oh,
Matter
really?
of Perspective. I think that's season 3 or 4, where a science space station blows up, and the wife of the scientist accuses Riker of killing her husband, and so they have a trial. Going
Oh,
through her
yeah.
perspective of the events and then his perspective of the same events. And at one point I got an in with Star Trek, like Paramount, looking
Oh.
for writers, and I got to pitch to them, and I pitched my idea of discussing openly Will Riker as a character and how certain aspects of that character may not have aged so well, like his womanizing, for example, centered around that episode. And they were like, "Do you have anything else?" So like,
Yeah, they're not ready to go that route.
yeah, but it's one of my favorite episodes because it is like watching it as an adult and seeing, like what is clearly like almost a cartoonish version of Will Riker, like
Yeah.
constantly hands on her and pulling her towards him constantly. But then his version of events is totally squeaky clean. Nothing improper happened. No, of course I didn't leer at her all the time. And it's very interesting. And I come away from that episode every time thinking that there is truth to both, and it's right in
Yep.
the middle, because you watch the other episodes and you always see Riker like walking out of some ensign's room, like like pulling his uniform down and shit. Like
and
it's so
it's that
interesting.
whole it's the whole Captain Kirk, but they knew they couldn't do that with Patrick Stewart, not because he wasn't an attractive man, but
Dude
he just
is
didn't play.
hot.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
But he didn't have the stereotype, right? He didn't
yeah.
fit the stereotype. And so number one, or the first officer, had to fill that role a little bit. And it's interesting by
Mhm.
the point we're in, and I'm sorry, listeners, I realize we've turned into the Star Trek podcast. It's okay.
Too late.
You'll be all right. We're gonna do this for a minute. There's this point where in season 6, as we were going through season 6, and I can't really pick a favorite season. I think I might like, with the lens of I haven't rewatched 7 in a long time, so I need to get through 7. I think 6 might be my favorite because I
Yeah.
feel like the characters have developed the most by then.
Yeah, so
They're
much good
kind of
stuff.
they're it's one of the opposite of things that normally happens to a show. Normally, shows start out and sometimes they have great characters, and then they lose where they want to go with them, or they've explored all the things and they become two-dimensional by a 6th season. Whereas I feel like Star Trek Next Gen did the opposite. They really started kind of flat, and then sort of became really complex characters by season 6.
And they have fun with it too. Like I'm looking at the list of episodes. It starts out with Time's Arrow Part 2, which is my favorite two-parter of the whole season, or the whole series, where they go back in time. They hang with Mark Twain. Lady Garden, and I couldn't help but overhear. Like that guy. Oh my god, he's so good. And then you got Relics with Scotty. They find Scotty in the transporter buffer on a ship wrecked on a Dyson sphere. You got Schisms. Like you got Rascals, which is a fun episode if you like fun. A Fistful of Datas, like it. God, they go off the rails in season 6, but
they
it's
do.
good.
Season 6 gets wild, and they give you just the right amount of nostalgia for the original series and some of the movies as you go.
Yep.
That it's like it's the right fan service. It's not ham-fisted.
Yep.
And I really appreciate that episode with Guinan and the whole two-parter where they go back in time and where it's like, where she's like, it's this weird. Not shows don't do time travel well usually.
Not usually, but
they have this whole conversation where she's talking to Picard and she's like, "Do you remember when we first met?" And he's like, "Of course. Don't be so sure."
Yeah.
And
that's
like,
awesome.
It's so cool. I love that.
Like Doctor Who with River Song. It's like
yes.
I'm looking at the list of episodes.
It's so good.
Banger after banger. Ship in a Bottle, Tapestry. You got Starship Mine. You got Suspicions.
I miss shows that give you 26 episodes in a season too.
Yeah, Timescape. You know what I also miss is that TV shows are scared of filler now. And there are episodes that are like, it's okay to have a big dramatic thing, and the next episode is Data has to learn to fucking dance for Conan O'Brien, Chief O'Brien's wedding. Like that's great. It's good to have episodes where nothing really happens, but the characters grow, they evolve a little bit.
It's just fun.
Keiko has a little meltdown. That's okay. We're gonna deal with it. Like I love these long seasons compared to like, you know, I didn't really care for Picard seasons 1 and 2. 3 was actually like those first 4 episodes were excellent. Yeah. I thought
that's what I've heard. I've heard second season is not really great.
I just couldn't get on with either the first or the second, but the third one has some good stuff in it, and but it's still only 10 episodes, and you feel like every like really deep character moment, at least I feel this way, that when the deep character moments happen, they feel rushed, or it feels like you didn't have enough time to earn it. Like they have to so quickly have their conflict and then have a heart-to-heart out in the hallway. Like, you got to space that stuff out.
You really do.
And back. I'm not a return guy, but I'm totally a return guy for long ass seasons of TV shows. Like,
I want them. That's what I want real bad. I want because it's sort of like actually I think it was the downfall of The Walking Dead, which by the way I never completely finished.
Man.
But Walking Dead tried to bring back some of that, character development, the lull episoends where it's like, hey, we sort of need to tell some story here to get you back to the action point. Yep. I think they swung the pendulum too far and had too much lull.
Yeah, they did not balance it. And by the time you got to was it the 5th season where Negan is introduced? Like, by that point, it just felt like the writers were having too much fun killing off characters, and that's not interesting to me. Like the who's gonna die this time question is never interesting to me. It can be a great narrative device, but like, I don't know. I'm not here to watch a contest. Like I'm here to see people deal with impossible odds.
All 6 seasons of Game of Thrones. I mean, that worked. And for those of you that try to tell me there are 7 seasons of Game of Thrones, you're wrong.
That's why that sounded wrong to me. I was like, maybe there are only 6.
No, there's not. There's 6. And just like Lois Lowry's book that I'm having a hard time remembering right now.
Well, I haven't read it, so you can tell me anything.
Oh my gosh. I'm a librarian, so this is bad. The Giver. Oh my gosh. Just like Lois Lowry's The Giver, you need to determine the ending for yourself. It says more about you than it does the story itself.
Is it a choose-your-own adventure book?
No, but it's a very open-ended at the end. So it's one of those books that we learned in school, at least when I was in school.
Like Spinning the Inception top.
Kind of an old fogey.
Is it a dream?
So there's this point at the end, and I don't feel like I'm spoiling a 20-some-odd-year-old book. If you haven't read it, that says more about you than me.
Okay, well that's a little combative.
Yeah, it is. You should read it. And a lot of people read it as a kid. I didn't read it as a kid. I read it as an adult. But there's this moment at the end. So they're in this. I'm gonna call it like utopian society, but it's very like Uncanny Valley utopian. Like something's wrong, but you can't quite place it.
Sure.
And there's this kid who becomes the new giver. Like there's this role in the village of the
Okay.
giver where they like, I'm gonna mess this up because it's been a few years now. But essentially they become the keeper of like information of the way things are and the way things were before. And as he's becoming this role and studying under the current giver in this role, he realizes they see in black and white. Like literally see in black and white. Like there's a moment in the book where he sees red for the first time ever.
Oh my gosh.
And so he starts to realize that by learning and having this knowledge and having this understanding, that he starts to see color and see the world as it is and not as this weird, like utopian. You got to read it. It's even weirder when you read it and you don't realize it's weird until you spend time thinking about it like I have at the end.
That's so
and
cool. Okay.
Yeah, so he spends his time. And then at the end, he discovers like there's this whole thing where like at a certain age, people leave the village. And it's like, oh, they went to do this thing. No, they were literally killing them. You reached your death age, basically. And so he discovers this and he escapes the village he's in, and with a baby. So I can't remember where the baby comes in, but there's a baby. And he takes a sled. He's like dying. He's running. He's like exhausted in the snow. And he ends up on a sled trying to get to this village he sees at the bottom of the hill or mountain. And it stops. You don't know if he makes it before he dies or not. And the whole idea is that if you think he made it or you think he didn't, it says more about you than it does about the story. Like it's more about how do you think it ended. And I love that kind of thing. Now, she did write a follow-up book to it, so there is an actual canonical ending that I won't say. Because I've met Lois, and she's a wonderful, genuinely warm, loving, wonderful human being. And I did not have the heart to tell her I wish you'd never written another book in that world, because I liked the open-endedness of it.
Hey, it's really good to meet you. I want to tell you one giant mistake that you made.
I have a major gripe about your entire literary career.
I've got a list of grievances, and we're going to get to all of them.
No, she was fantastic. Anyway, but there's that whole open-endedness. I like that kind of thing. I genuinely don't remember how we got to this point, though.
I also don't remember.
That's fine. This has been great. We started at Star Trek. We've gotten to The Giver. This has been the greatest podcast I've recorded yet already.
Well, I feel real good about it. Don't you know?
Well, my challenge to you is read The Giver, and we'll have a conversation. We'll start a book club, Guitar Player Book Club. This will be great.
I mean, if you're escaping a village with a baby, why not call it The Taker, right? Because I feel like let's add that to the list of gripes, I guess. Hey, Lois. Hey, Lois, you know what grinds my gears?
All right. So now that we have spent the entire first quarter of this podcast talking about Star Trek.
I don't have
that was
15 minutes.
Yeah, we're 15 minutes in at this point, and only 2 minutes of that was self-shill.
It's about to get real good.
Yeah, it's getting real good. So, Mike, now that I've got you on, we're going to talk about existentialism. No, I'm kidding. That's not where we're going to go.
I love it. I have no idea what's going on, and I'm terrified. And am I real? Is it worth it? These are questions. I don't have answers.
So you do have answers for this, though. You are one of, and this is not blowing smoke. I'm not a kiss ass. You're one of my favorite YouTube personalities. And
thanks, man.
Well, here's why. I think you have this infectious enthusiasm for like everything. Even when something sucks, you're like infectiously enthusiastic about how much it sucks.
Well, I do love a problem. I do love a challenge and a problem, and I love solving problems, and I love spending my mental effort thinking of how a thing could be rectified. I really enjoy that because that's what I do as a guitar tech. Is I see a problem and then I devise a solution if I don't already have one. So those are things that are really important to me and always have been. I wouldn't say I'm enthusiastic about everything, but I also I hold back when I am not enthusiastic about something. Like there are many things that you will never see on my channel because I don't.
Oh, sure.
I don't see a lot of value in just putting out like an endless, scrolling list of negativity. But like when I get a Fender guitar, like I did with the AV2 66 Jazzmaster that had some serious serious fret and fretboard issues and a whole other cavalcade of errors. When I called that out, my goal is never to just shit on a brand. Like, my goal is to point things out in hopes that they can be made better.
Sure.
Because when it comes to Fender, I obviously love Fender guitars. I want them to be the best they can be. And so, we can take the example of the American Pro 2 that had that spring problem. If you haven't seen my video on that, I think maybe you have, because you're nodding your head. But the Panorama Vibrato was redesigned to have a much greater range of pitch detuning. So like when you press the bar down, you can go almost a whole octave with 9-gauge strings. But because they redesigned the position of the fulcrum point on that vibrato, they moved it forward toward the spring. The spring all of a sudden is too light duty to handle any string gauge above 10. When you put 11s on, which are what a lot of people use on Jazzmasters, that's so much string tension that the whole vibrato kind of collapses, and all of a sudden your arm moves just like a little bit, barely detuning the string from E to E flat, like just barely. And so when I discovered that, I made a video on it, and I haven't gotten a proper update from Fender. Not that I deserve one, but I have friends inside Fender who have sent me photos of the springs that they've been testing, and I believe on this current crop of AV2s, I've been getting reports that the vibrato works perfectly now. So it seems that
that's awesome.
Things can happen, but yeah, I don't want to bring bad things out there without a solution, and I don't want to just breed negativity in the world. I don't do well with this. I don't know. I don't have a better word for the fan mentality or the tribalism that seems to spring up in guitar circles, where I'm a Gibson guy, I'm a Fender guy, we're enemies, that kind of thing. I just want things to be better, and I want people to be able and well equipped to handle issues when they arise on their own guitars, because you should not fear your instrument. There's barely anything on it that you can break irreparably. So yeah, I'm really passionate and excited about helping people address issues with their guitars, and that's what keeps me going. So thank you. I'm sorry I talked for so long, but thank you so much for
that makes great podcasting.
That means the world to me, because it's hard out there. It's hard out there putting yourself out there constantly on video for everybody to see. It's one of the
reasons I don't do it. I put these podcasts on YouTube, and that's about it right now, because I'm like, man, because I have ideas, I have things I want to do. Also, I need 4 more hours in every day. But
me too.
on the talking too much. No, I actually, one of the hallmarks of a good episode of the podcast is when I'm editing it and I'm looking at the waveforms in Logic, and I'm looking at it, and it's like, oh, it's all guest waveform. That's a good episode.
There's 15 whole minutes of nonsense. I love it.
On that whole tribalism thing, and that's a thing that I'm coming to grips with myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things I'm seeing in myself. And in my past episode, one of the most recent episodes, y'all, I'm blanking right now on which episode exactly I talked about this on. You see, everybody, I love when I get comments, people message me after they listen to an episode, dude, you were so right about XYZ. And I'm like, thank you. I don't remember what I said.
Yeah,
because I recorded that 3 weeks ago.
Yes. Yeah. People as a creator type, people don't seem to get, if you don't do this, you may not understand that when you finish a project and you export it, and then your mind just erases it.
You're gone. You've moved on.
The next thing to worry about. So when I get messages about a video from 4 years ago, someone wrote me recently and was like, do you remember the pickup heights on some guitar that I worked on for somebody else? And I'm like, no, I'm sorry, no. Or someone will comment on an Instagram post that is literally a decade old, and they'll go, what string gauge was on this? And I'll be like, bud, I don't retain that information. I don't know what I did 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I was in the shower before this, because I don't like to record anything when I haven't showered, because I don't know, there's some psychological thing that happens where I'm like, no, dude, I'm clean, I'm pristine, I'm ready to go.
Dude, that's a whole thing. No, that's a whole different podcast to talk about the whole that mental preparedness of like, I need to be in the right mental space to do this thing. Like right now,
Yes.
there are dirty dishes in my sink, and that bothers me.
Oh no, I feel it. I feel it too.
Yeah.
I feel it too.
But so
Uh,
on that vein, though, I don't remember which episode I talked about this, but I've been going through this year, like this whole self journey like thing, right? Um, where and I'm on this whole thing where I'm trying to stop fixating on things I don't like, because I actually think we as a society do it too much. Um, and you know, it's that whole thing. You don't want to talk too much about things you don't like. It makes for, unfortunately, it makes for viral podcasting, YouTube making, Instagram videos, TikTok. Everybody loves to commiserate with you and hate on the thing you hate.
Yeah.
And I'm so tired of hating things.
Yep.
I'm tired of that entire mentality. I want to like things. I'm tired of talking about things. That doesn't mean I don't call out bullshit when I see it, but that also means that I'm want to spend more time talking about things I love. And the one for me this year has been, I have been a PRS-8 hater. And I realized this is probably 3 episodes in a row I've talked about this, but I've been a PRS hater until the point that it became an identity. Like,
wow.
As the guy who hates PRS, that like I wasn't even willing to give him a shot anymore, because I was like, oh, that would wreck like everything I've said. And like, so I gave him another shot, and I'm like, oh, they're not as bad as I gave them credit for. I kind of like a couple of models, but that's the whole thing, is that you want to be more positive, and I want to be more positive.
I absolutely do.
Does that mean your YouTube channel won't grow as fast or as much? Absolutely,
probably,
that's what that means.
I mean, that's what. Look, like I refuse to make. Well, first of all, I refuse to have a stated opinion on every single thing that goes on in the world. I don't think that much of myself, but I also don't think that like I need to waste my time. Like every new guitar announcement, I got to have a hot take ready. Like I don't operate like that in real life. Why would I do that on the internet? But then, oh, Philip, but then what was I saying? But then, no, I also don't want to feed the thing that, now that we've given ourselves over to algorithms and they're curating our feeds, algorithms will always pick the thing that generates the most traffic, the most interaction, engagement, whatever they call it. And because the algorithm is so keyed into negativity, I refuse to even engage with it. Like I know that that's going to stifle my growth. I know that means that less people will see me. Fine. Like I don't care. Like there are so many other ways for me to leave a mark on this world. Why would I want it to be that? You know, and it's hard too, because I have to make like a serious personal choice every day when I sit down and I watch YouTube at the end of the day and like get caught up on what's going on in the world. Like it's to the point where I just straight up will not click on a video that uses the phrase "you're doing it wrong," because and some of those videos, like best of intentions, like I get it. I'm not shitting on anybody, but I am saying that when I see that phrase, like my thought is that's for engagement. I don't want to feed that. When you could just as easily make a thumbnail that says here's how to do it the right way, or here's how to play this song that you've been playing wrong. Like here are the real chords. Like we could talk about Weezer. I'm a huge Weezer fan. I love those first 2 records deeply. But like I always see people play The World Has Turned using just a regular G, D, B, C progression, where the Weezer sound is adding that low fifth in. You're playing a D power chord with the A on top, just bar the A, or you're doing the E position shape on the E, A, and D strings, and you're getting the third in there. Like you're getting this massive, huge sounding chord. And so, yeah, when someone plays a regular D chord, it doesn't sound correct. It's not like the way the record has it. But I'm not going to make a video that's like, you're doing it wrong. You should be ashamed of yourself. Here's the right way, loser. Like that. Why not just make a playthrough video? Why not just say like, here are the chords? Like why do we have to get contentious about everything? I'm off my soapbox. I just don't see the value in it.
No, it's a soapbox worth being on. And it's funny because, you know, my listeners know I work in public libraries, and I actually do training because my background before I got into restaurants was bar and restaurant management, which also meant I was a musician who needed a day job, or a night job, as it were. That's how most like musicians get into bar and restaurant management, is they work in the bars they play in.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a whole thing. So that's what happened to me. But I have this, so I've been deep in like customer service industry for most of my life. My first job when I was old enough to hold a broom was sweeping my uncle's stores.
Nice.
Kind of thing.
What kind of store?
In retail. Liquor store.
Nice.
I wasn't gonna say that, but since you asked, he actually owned a liquor store and a grocery store across the street from each other.
Oh, cool.
Playing well into that Lebanese stereotype. But so sweeping those floors, but I have been like in retail or in bar and restaurant most of my life until I got into libraries. And so I do training on customer service. And one of the things I talk about in my customer service training is signs that you put up around. And every business has signs, right? Every business has to put up a sign up for something, and libraries do it a lot. And one of the things I tell my staff, and what I tell other people they ought to do, is stop using the words no, don't, not, can't in your signs. First of all, nobody's reading your signs. Second of all, you're also creating a negative environment, because there is another way to say that. Like, for example, we had a sign. My staff, a newer staff member didn't know my policy, my stance on this. We had these stack of chairs that had to stay in like storage, and we needed people to stop dragging them out throughout the building, right?
Sure.
And they had a sign, big cross out red, like the no smoking style signs, like big cross out, don't move these chairs. I was like, you can rephrase that. And they're like, how? I was like, you could say, for safety of all patrons, we would rather you not move these chairs, or help us keep the library neat by leaving these chairs here and using the chairs in such other section. You know, it's like there are other ways to say it where you don't have to be that, I don't know, that negative, like building on that negativity. You don't have to create a negative space. And that's the thing that I'm trying to build in this podcast. Like, I don't want to be a negative space podcast, even though occasionally I've got to be a little negative, because you got to call people on some things.
I can't wait to the part of the podcast where you do that to me. Are you going to call me out for something?
I'm totally going to call you out, Mike.
This is going to get good.
No, I'm not going to call you out. But it is one of those things, like, for example, talking about, because I'm not here to bash Fender. I own Fenders. I love Fenders. But there was a point with like the American Vintage Reissue 2. I'm sorry, I'm getting all those words in order.
Well,
there's too many words and model names.
Damn long.
Right.
American Vintage 2, 1966 Jazzmaster. American Vintage 2, 1961 Stratocaster.
Yeah. Like, so many words. It's like my coffee order at this point. Too many words. But it's funny because I'm pretty sure, if I'm correct, that Jazzmaster was actually Jason from Working Class Music.
Yeah, and he got it. Well, I don't know if I'm allowed to say where he got it from, but he got it like fresh from a music retailer that has a multi-point inspection process.
Yes, there we go. That could be many.
Who could that be? Certainly not one of our sponsors. Let me tell you.
Surely not. Not my sponsor. I mean, I'd like for them to be. If they want to be, I'm here. You know who you are. I actually know for a fact someone there listens. So hey, hit me up. I can be bought. That's all I'm saying.
And I have no beef with you. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. I regret everything I've said.
But so I was actually, while you had that guitar, and like y'all were like having a conversation with Jason about that guitar, I was at their house in Atlanta.
I want to go to the WCM pad.
Oh, dude, I tell you what, you fly to Mississippi, and we'll drive over, and we will do it. We will invade their space for a weekend.
I haven't been on a road trip in a long time,
dude. Come on, anytime. Actually, I've been jokingly, I don't know, 70% jokingly saying I want to organize like a podcaster, YouTuber like thing in Nashville, where everybody can come together and hang out and do the thing, and something that's not around Gearfest or NAMM or something where we make the agenda, like we make the plan.
I like that.
All right, so I'll put you on the email list. That right now is me.
But you were saying you and Jason were talking about the.
So yeah, we were talking about that guitar, and I was like, because it was funny because like he played it and was like okay with it.
Yeah.
But then, you got a hold of it and you're like, here are some problems.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the only guitar that came out at that time that had some problems out of that.
I was so surprised by some of the other ones that I was seeing on YouTube.
The one Xander got, the Ultra, is the Ultra Deluxe.
Oh,
Jaguar?
The Jaguar. That's 25.5 inch. That again, I don't mean to be negative, but it does not compute.
It's not it's a Jaguar in almost name only.
Yeah.
It's a Jaguar in sort of concept. But yeah, there was a point there where things got a little shoddy. They did.
The wiring is that correct? Is that what I'm remembering? The wiring
I think the wiring is wrong. Like, he had an issue with his bridge pickup that was basically non-existent.
That's right.
He went to change strings and the ferrules literally fell out the back of the guitar.
Oh.
Like, they were only held in by the string tension.
Oh, I don't remember that. Oof.
Yeah, like, there were a whole bunch of things.
And they went through 3 of them. Am I correct on that?
Yes. At least 2. I don't remember if it was an extra one.
It was 2, and the third one was the good one, right? Where the other 2 had almost identical issues?
I think so. I think that was it. I know it had identical bridge issues, the bridge pickup issues. Yeah. So it's like, those are the kinds of things where I'm like, you're not being negative. You're trying to be constructive.
I'm doing my best.
It's what I call constructive negativity versus destructive negativity.
Yeah.
And it's where you legitimately want things to be better. It's like because I've said it on so many podcasts, and I guess everyone who continues to listen understands and is okay with it. I do love Gibson guitars, but I'm also very critical of bad decision making and issues with production and things like that. Like, I still have major issues with some of their signature artist decisions they're making.
They did my boy Mark Agnesi so dirty. I'll never forgive him for it. I'll never forgive him. Like, I know it's going to limit my Gibson-based opportunities in the future, but you have a diamond in your hand and you're crushing it back into coal. No, Mark, by all accounts, seems fine now. But like that, oh, that we're coming after you thing, and you can see the look in his eye where it is just a hostage situation, and I love Mark. Mark, if you're hearing this, email me back. Did you get my email? You might not have seen it.
So this weekend, I did on Sunday, I did a live stream with Steve from 60 Cycle Hum.
Oh, I love Steve.
Me too. Over on the 60 Cycle Hum channel. And somehow we ended up on this subject because I always end up on Gibson, it feels like, which is bad. I don't want to become like that guy. Mm-hmm. Like, there's already a Trogley. You don't need me to become that guy. So
I want to know what you mean by that. I need you to unpack that statement.
Trogley's a Gibson pusher. Like, he is. And like, I'm not
a pusher. Like a pusher. Okay.
Yeah, like he's all about some Gibson. Like, I realized Trogley is both a YouTuber and a retailer. Like, he has his own space where he retails. That's a whole thing.
For sure.
But like, I feel like he's a little, I don't know, he's a little everything sunny for me when it comes to Gibson.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah. I like Gibson, but I'm not an everything sunny kind of guy. Mm-hmm. But you don't need that. I like a bunch of other brands too. I like I like guitars, y'all. I just like good
guitars.
Good, cool guitars.
Guitars are pretty cool. I think we can agree on that. Yeah. Let's shake on it.
Let's
other arm.
Something like that.
Oh wait, are you on the opposite side of me?
Yeah, I'm mirrored, I think.
Okay.
Okay. This is gonna be awkward. I have no idea how I'm gonna edit this to make that work. Actually, I'm not gonna edit that to make it work. I'm just gonna let it happen.
Yeah, let it fall flat. It's okay.
listeners, you just dodged a bullet. That's all I'm saying.
I tried to do an internet handshake with my friend Philip, and unsurprisingly, didn't work at all. So,
like many things on the internet.
But you and I, we both love guitars, but we love Gibson. I love Gibson. I used to be Gibson.
I love Gibson
only.
Want them to be good. I want them to be good, but I need them to get their house in order. And I hope they're doing it. I think there's been positive growth in the last few years since the end of the Henry J era, but
sure,
neither here nor there.
At the risk of causing you to rehash something that your listeners are probably sick of hearing, can you just give me a real quick bullet point list of like what house ordering things?
Sure. So I think there's so Hillary from the the Midriff podcast.
Hillary
Talked about
rules.
this.
Oh my God.
I love Hillary.
Oh, what a cool person.
One of the best times I've had talking to someone was talking to Hillary. So
I get such an inordinate. I'm going to take that again. It gets such an inordinate amount of joy from every time I scroll Instagram and I see someone with a guitar and they go, ooh, they do that like arm move at the beginning. I'm like, that's Hillary. I'm in, and I watch every video. Hillary is just the best. I can't get enough of her.
Killer guitarist.
I want to be in a band with her so bad.
Me too. Head and heart's in the right place. All those kinds of things. Got killer taste in gear.
Yeah.
Which I judge people on. As I'm saying, I'm not negative. No, I'm totally negative, and I'm trying to be a better person. Y'all heard me. So, but like they need to get like. They've got to get better, and Hillary and I did talk about it. They've got to get better about the artists they approach for signature guitars.
Absolutely.
They've got to get better about some representation in their ads. They've got to get, and the thing that bothers me the most is that they are doing some things that aren't being advertised.
Yeah, and
not everybody sees them. I see them because I'm on some email lists where I hear about some things, but I also am that person who's like, well, they're doing these things, but they're not advertising it. But also, would you feel it was genuine if all they were doing were advertising all the great things they're doing?
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be a balance because there's another company that we both enjoy that touts every little achievement they do.
That's true.
And
I'm genuinely trying to narrow it down. Which one do you mean?
I think it's okay. And I think honestly necessary because as much as I have enjoyed the work of Slash and Adam Jones and Kirk Hammett over the years, can I please see some fresh blood in that lineup? Can I please see I haven't been as excited about Gibson's artists since the days of when the Donnas were being supported by Gibson. Man. I see Allison Robertson.
Yes,
I that was amazing, and I was like, yes, she's so good, an incredible guitar player, made some bangers with that band, and I was like, yes, okay, I'm on board. I can get with that.
So, side note, I've never seen the Donnas live, but I did.
To.
We did some shows with a band I was in. We did some LA shows for 2004, forever ago, a million years ago. And while I was there in town, Rooney was playing in LA at a venue I can't remember the name of right now. But at the time, Rooney's guitarist was dating the guitarist from the Donnas. And so she came out and did a couple of songs with them. It was such a rad show.
You said the word Rooney and you unlocked like a giant squirreled away memory in my brain of that era. Oh my God. When you go back and edit this video, you're going to have to do like a Ken Burns zoom in on my face when I froze for a minute and rebooted.
You give me way too much credit for my amount of editing, but yes.
That stuff though, like it would be so easy. It would be so easy to get some interesting new Gibson guitars out there.
Right.
Because like you've got companies like Electrical Guitar Company that are using like the Les Paul double cut shape to make clear aluminum necked guitars. Like, why isn't Gibson trying?
Wait, let me break your brain because we've had this conversation inside the inside the podcast Discord. Y'all, there is a podcast Discord that you do not have to be a Patreon supporter to join.
I'd like to join.
Well, you can join. There you go. Look at that. You can come talk to Mike over in the Discord. It is if you go to 40wattpodcast.com or you go to Linktree, it's linktr.ee/40wattpodcast. You can find the link to the Discord. You can join, you can hang out, you can chat with us. Please come join us. But
I'm talking to your friends right now.
Look at that. This is pro advertising right here. But yeah, so we were talking over in actually that's my ADD kicking in now. ADHD.
I have that too.
Yeah. Oh man, that's why this is a great episode, and we are driving all of the people who don't have ADHD.
It feels great to me, but I hope it's not super scatterbrained on the other end. But we are. We're getting there. We're pivoting. We're Tokyo drifting all over this podcast.
Look, if people haven't had to hit that 15 seconds back button multiple times to figure out how we got where we are, then it's a failure as an episode.
What did they just say?
Yeah, it's like, wait, Star Trek Gibson, Fender, Discord, what?
The Donna's ruining.
The Donna's, yeah, man. But so we're gonna back up. I'm gonna try to back up.
Yeah,
we can't live back up and figure out where we were. But
I brought up EGC and clear aluminum neck guitars.
Oh yeah.
Said, we were
I'm gonna blow your
Discord.
mind. We were talking about it over in Discord. Gibson doesn't make a double cut that's not custom shop right now.
I know, it sucks.
They don't make a double cutaway Les Paul that isn't custom shop. Yep. The most recent one was the Rick Beato limited number version double cut.
That's right.
That's it.
Yep.
What the hell?
They
don't even make the tribute
ones
anymore.
Yeah.
I had a tribute double cut for a little while, and it was a really great guitar. The Les Paul Special tribute double cut. Again, too many words in your model names. But why? Why does that not exist? Why do I have to go to a $4,000 guitar to get what should be a budget model?
Yeah, like especially when they were a budget model in the 2000s, like there was that faded version that was like what, $800, $900?
Yeah,
like,
man.
I mean, I know that costs have risen. I get that, but like why cut stuff like that? Those feel like big sellers. I mean, I saw everyone using those on tours back in the 2000s.
Yeah,
everybody had one. I've worked on so many of those. And like it's not like the DC Special or Junior are like complicated machines. Like a stop tail at an angle and a P90 and a couple cutaways, and like there you are. Like it's not a crazy expensive guitar to make. It's not complicated. Like why not? Why don't we have those?
I also get that post Robo Tuners, they had to like trim the lineup down a little so they could devote a little more energy to the things that really were selling. And to the credit of, I've learned this. I didn't know this. I had to be told this. Like this whole Slash thing. And I've literally mentioned this in the last 3 weeks on a podcast. Listeners, I apologize. Mike's not heard it yet. The Slash thing, apparently, while we're tired of Slash guitars, they sell like freaking hotcakes in South and Central America.
Yeah. Which is great.
So
like
that's great.
I'm all about that, but it doesn't mean we can't also.
Yes. Also,
if we have to have 35 different colors of a flame top Les Paul, fine. I'm fine. Like I'm not complaining about that, but I would really like to see like a couple colors of a different thing.
Knowing that only 2 Les Paul colors need to exist, being Sunburst and Gold Top.
Gonna have to disagree with you there. I like white on a custom and black on a standard.
Custom. See, I don't like a black standard. I like a black custom.
My first good guitar was a black standard, and God, I miss that guitar. I wish it weren't 10.5 pounds. I wish it didn't have a super wide neck. But what a great first really good guitar. Like that thing ripped.
Yeah. The first Les Paul I ever played was an 80s black standard. And 80s, while that does hold a little special place in my heart, it's not my preferred. Look, Mike, I am a boomer trapped in a millennial's body.
Okay.
I like traditional colors. I like traditional things. I understand that, but I'm also that person who like tries not to yuck people's yum. It's like if you don't dig those things, that's okay.
Yeah.
So if you do like another color of Les Paul, that's fine.
For me,
I only want 2 colors.
I've always wanted a white custom from the 70s or 80s. Like there was a white 86, I want to say, custom at a record shop in my hometown of York, Pennsylvania, a place called Ico's, which is still there today, and it rips. It's great. They used to sell used guitars, and for $800, I think it was like 1999. I was in high school. I went in, and I could smell the guitar before I saw it. It was so smoked out, nicotined. It was white, but it was orange. It was straight up orange, and it had been smoked around so much that the gold plating on the hardware was bubbled. Like that, it wasn't just sweat; it was just bubbling off. Disgusting guitar, but it was incredible. And it was, at the time I was like, yeah, heavy guitars are great. I'm strong and young. But like, oh man, I should have bought that for $800. I should have, but I didn't.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
You are unlocking. So I've been lucky in the town I'm living in now. I moved here literally 5 weeks before the pandemic. So like I didn't get to meet anyone, right? I'd been coming to the town I'm in, like Starkville. I'm in Starkville, Mississippi. I'd been coming here for years because I love college sports, and there's Mississippi State universities here, so I came to games. But I didn't really know people here, so I moved here. So I've started to meet some of the musicians finally in town, and one of them, a couple of pardon y'all. I hope those burps did not come out on the microphone. Hear them. Good, we're good. We'll see what happens when I put compression on this later. But one of the guys that I've met is sort of like one of the old cats. Like he's been around a while and he's played in a lot of like bar bands, but he's also played with a lot of cats that do a lot of the blues stuff that I love, and some of the country blues stuff and the hill country blues stuff that I love. And he's played with a bunch of folks. And I got to meet him. So our music store does this thing. Every spring, they do what's called a spring cleaning day.
Okay.
So it's a day where they'll literally clean out the back and like what's been sitting here forever. Ooh. And like honestly, most of it is junk, as you would expect. But like I bought a 12-string from them a couple of years ago, a Yamaha 12-string that needed work for $20.
Yes. Oh, what a cool deal.
Yeah, that kind of thing. But what the other thing they do is they have coffee and donuts, and they tell you, do you have something you want to sell? Come set up a table in front of the store and sell your stuff. No fee. They don't take a cut. They're like, just set up. If you have something you want, do some trading. It becomes like this little like, neighborhood guitar flea market. It's so cool. God, that's rad. Although it's declined in interest in the last few years, they're going to try to do something a little different next year. But so I met this guy at that, and he said, yeah, he wasn't selling it, but like we got to talking about his guitar, and so he actually had it in the car, and he grabbed it. You got to check this out. And it was a white custom that, I'm going to hold up a few visual aids here, listeners. I apologize, but this is for Mike's benefit. You'll just have to imagine. It was supposed to be a white custom. This is my mouse. This is my Apple trackpad.
Yeah, I've got one of those.
Yeah. It's supposed to be that color. It was this color.
Oh, it was manila.
Oh, yeah. It was. Bro. And it like nicotined out, like, dude, it was the coolest guitar.
Oh my God.
You could smell it when he opened the case. So as you were describing that, I was like, I just lived
what
this
if that
like
was
a few
that
weeks
the same
ago.
Guitar that we both encountered the same guitar?
I don't think that's possible, but that is okay. It's not impossible.
It's not impossible. Nothing is impossible.
Exactly. It's unlikely, but not impossible. But yeah, it was that whole experience all over again. It was this white custom that, beat up, like honest relic, nicotined out. I was like, oh, that is so cool. I can't stand how cool it is. So it shouldn't be cool. Smoking's bad. Away. Y'all don't do it. But damn, it was cool.
It's so cool. Oh, I wish I'd still like one, even though I can't play guitars that are hardtails or 1 11/16 or heavy guitars. Like, even though I have this like ever growing list of things that turn me off, like I still want. I would like a 3 pickup white custom with a Bigsby. That'd be 100%.
Man,
classy as all get out.
Right. It is, and it's one of those things where I don't like gold hardware.
Yeah,
but if you have a custom, it better have a gold. Gold hardware. Yeah, it better. It just has to.
I'm with you, 100%.
Yeah. So, but what you can play. So we're finally getting to the offset part of this conversation.
We're 51 minutes in, and we're hitting.
Yeah, 51 minutes in. We're gonna get to the offset because So this is a thing that I am offset curious. I've had a Jazzmaster in the past. I had one of the classic players.
With the P90s and the modern trem spacing, the adjustomatic bridge.
Yeah. Basically all wrong. The literally the trim's in the wrong spot on the body. Mine, I got it from a pawn shop.
Nice.
I got it at a ridiculously low price. Yes, it can still happen.
Love that.
And I did have to replace the pickups because the bridge pickup was DOA.
That sucks.
Yeah, it's fine. They weren't the right pickups anyway. So I put a set of the 65 pure vintage Jazzmaster pickups in there, which were fine. I wasn't like blown away by them.
Yeah, they're not my favorite set for sure.
No, they were okay. But they worked, so they were already an improvement on the previous pickups.
The bar was all the way down here.
Yes, absolutely. So I did end up I went through a gear purge a couple of years ago. I sold a bunch of stuff off to buy things, of course, because that's what we do. Mm-hmm. And I sold that off because I had gotten a Novo, and I've got a Ceres J with P90s, man. My favorite pickup of all time.
I love Novo. Love that company,
man. I've got two of them now. I've managed to track down a Ceres S. Ooh. Their Strat pickup that they discontinued. They don't make that model anymore.
Ooh,
yeah,
Lord.
Dude, it's special. It's something special. So it's the one thing, I love Dennis Fano and I love his guitars, but I think they messed up by discontinuing that model. Because their newer version, the Idris, is
named after Idris Elba.
I hope so. But actually, I also hope not, because Idris Elba is a beautiful man, and that guitar is not as beautiful as it should be.
I love me a good Luther. Love me a good Luther.
But I don't know. The new version is just the old version still just felt like something different, even though it had the Strat pickup complement and the bridge and those kinds of things. It still felt like its own guitar. And supposedly the reason they swapped is because they wanted something that felt more like a different guitar and Novo doing, and I feel like they went closer to the Strat direction.
Oh, interesting.
I was like, I think you did this backwards. But that's just me. They're probably, I haven't played one. I'm sure they play incredibly. That's never my qualm about any Novo, period. I think they make the best necks in the business.
Yeah.
But I sold the classic player because I had the Ceres J. I got really, really into the mastery vibrato that's on that thing, and but it's P90s. It's a different vibe. I still want to do the Jazzmaster thing.
Sure.
So I'm Jazzmaster curious. I've got some things that are sitting in another room right now that are sort of, I could sell this and buy a Jazzmaster of some kind.
All right.
What do you think is the best available, currently made option?
Oh, boy.
Short of, obviously, we're not looking at custom shop. Look at this. I'm going to put you on the spot, man.
Yeah, I mean, I have many friends in the custom shop. Like Levi is amazing. I love
and they make
Andy
great
Hicks
stuff, but I'm not ready to put
Um,
custom shop money on something that is a way down the totem pole. Sorry, that's a phrase I should not use. Way down the priority list guitar for me.
You do not have to go custom shop to get a fine guitar. Yeah, I will freely agree that best is subjective, entirely, dependent on the player, the needs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But for me, the models that I end up recommending the most are actually very similar. I recommend do you know the Dave's Guitar Shop? Do you know Dave's Guitar Shop? You ever heard of that place?
I don't.
This is one of a few retailers that still can do limited runs to their own spec. And Dave's, this is letting the cat out of the bag, so enjoy this. Dave's does limited runs of 62 Jazzmasters. They still do AVRI 62 type Jazzmasters with a 9.5 inch fretboard radius instead of a 7 1/4. So a lot more players who like a modern feel or to bend a lot more will enjoy those necks. They are 1 5/8 inch nut widths, so they've got the vintage correct nut width, but they usually do them in custom colors, generally surf green, sonic blue, and fiesta red. They have a matching headstock, and they come with all the stuff that you would find on an AVR 62. They've got the vibrato, the bridge, the knobs, etc., and the case, all of that stuff. And they start at about $17 new. $17.99, I think, is where they started new, which is way lower than Vintage 2, Professional 2, et cetera, et cetera. They do sell out almost immediately because the few people who are paying attention know what they are and go for them. My buddy Jake has one, and it is legitimately one of the best recent Fenders I have played. And so, yeah, I highly recommend that. But related to Dave's recent 62 reissues, the Thin Skin series from 2007 to 2009. If you can find one of those for a good price, they came in a huge a range of custom colors, including Sonic Blue and Fiesta Red, yes, but also Shoreline Gold, Aztec Gold, Inca Silver. You could get them in Burgundy Mist. You could get them in Candy Apple Red. You could get them in so many colors. There was even like a 59 version of the thin skin that came in blonde with a 7 1/4 radius fretboard. All of the others have 9.5. They all have matching headstock except for the 59 style. That's what I have. My guitar R2, my blue one. I'm sure you've seen that.
Yes,
that is a thin skin, and they are wonderful guitars. And they do have a little bit bigger neck. The neck is a little bit bigger and it's wider. It's 1/11/16. I kind of struggle with that a little bit, but otherwise they are excellent guitars. Those are the two that I recommend the most. However, the thin skins from 2007 to 2009 are they people ask incredible money for them. Like I would even go far as to say incredulous money for them. So like, yeah, people are asking like $3.5K for them, and at that point, it's like, why not just go for
custom
the
shop.
custom shop? But I see that your browser is open. Let's go to Reverb and look for thin skin Jazzmasters and see what we find.
Yeah. So I was looking because you mentioned the Daves. I needed to check it out. They do have currently in their shop a 62 Fiesta Red Jazzmaster with matching headstock, which matching headstock, those are important words to me.
That's the one that my buddy Jake has, and it's incredible. It's genuinely incredible. I love it.
Oh, that is beautiful.
On Reverb right now, there's a couple 59 thin skins. I'm not sure what year they are. That one's a 2019. So yeah, it's a thin skin 59 style Jazzmaster for 1979. Great song, by the way. There's one for 2250 that's a 2020 version, which I didn't know about. I didn't know there. Maybe that's another Dave's run. Oh, it's from Wildwood. Wildwood is another. Wildwood. They also do limited runs, and that's killer. That's got the gold guard.
And listeners, I need to say, I know that $2,200, $2,000, $1,900 is a lot of money.
It surely is.
It surely is. But also, we are at a point where we can keep hoping that prices go down.
I do,
but they usually don't.
Every damn day of my life.
Yeah, they usually don't. And we're at a point now where I think if you want to get a certain, I'm not telling you that affordable or budget conscious guitars aren't good, but if you want to get a certain thing, there's a price point where it lives now.
If you have refined, I think that tastes, if you have the taste, if you're like me, it's not even about refined. The tastes are if you have like preferences and from experience what works for you and what doesn't. Like I would say my third most recommended Jazzmaster model is the Squire Classic Vibe, because I think they're great. They're great. They're easy to mod. If you set them up right, like they're pretty damn dependable out of the box. So I recommend those third best for most people, especially if you're only Jazzmaster curious. If you're experimenting, you're branching out a little bit, you want to, you're in college, you want to see how things work, go for it. Go for a Classic Vibe. Like they're genuinely good. Generally very good.
I have a Classic Vibe jazz bass that I think is an incredible instrument.
Right.
For the money I put into it. And I bought it during their sale. We don't need to go into the details of why things were on sale in December. Because I think I know, even though no one's ever said. I think I may have mentioned it on the podcast. But I got it at literally a late 60s Classic Vibe jazz bass shipped to my door.
To your door.
For $250.
Oh, my God.
What an incredible instrument for $250. I wish when I started learning guitars, there were guitars at that price point, at that quality.
Yeah, when I was learning, I wish there were guitars at that quality, at that price point, because like I had to deal with like Squire Affinity back in the day. And it's like Affinity, I feel like is a different beast now than it was in the 90s when they were horrible plywood pieces of crap. Like
I recently had someone I say recently in the last 5 years. I had someone who was clearing out a closet and found a couple of guitars. You know how this goes. Mm-hmm. And one of them was one of the, and and I need Fender does this and Gibson does this too. They reuse words in models,
I hate that.
and then I hate it. They had a Squire Starcaster, and not the cool semi-hollow.
The
ones.
bane of my existence as a fan of the 70s hollow body Fender.
Yeah.
Ugh.
You can't search for it because you're going to find these like 90s terrible wannabe strats that were awful. So they had one of those and a Squire Affinity or a Squire Bullet that they just gave me. They were like, I don't know what to do with these. You play guitar. Here, have these. And they were the biggest pieces of junk that I've dealt with in a long time. And that was what people found on the affordable end of things.
Yeah, but affordable now is good.
Ridiculous.
Like, really good. I think they've come a long way. And I mean, when you're just starting out, like whatever, $100 guitar is fine to just get your fingers working. That's fine. But like once you get to a point where feel starts to matter to you, and also like the fret ends are cutting you up, it's not a fun experience, then like, current day Squires are excellent, like genuinely incredible.
And I feel like I would be a terrible podcast host around guitar if I didn't mention, and y'all, I'm going to give a date. I'm going to tell y'all it right now. We are recording on May 24th of 2023. So if you go looking for this after this point, well, good luck to you. But right now on Pro Audio Star, they have the 40th edition Squires marked down 47%.
Whoa, what?
Yeah, you can buy a 40th anniversary Jazzmaster Squire for $319.
Is that the vintage or the gold edition?
They have, let me see. They've got the Lake Placid Blue Jazzmaster.
Oh, that one. Yep.
They've also got the Satin Desert with the gold pickguard and the maple fretboard, which is what Chris Buck has been playing around.
I gave that one a really favorable review too.
I liked the one I played. I played one in a local shop, relatively local in Jackson, Mississippi, and I thought very highly of it. They also have a satin seafoam at $319.
Yeah, I love that color. Do enjoy that color.
So that is an option. That's a thing I've looked at, and I'm like, I don't know. That might be the way to go. Or if you need a jazz bass, they've got a 40th anniversary Squire jazz bass in Sunburst for $299.
Damn.
Yeah, dude. It's like there were no quality $300 guitars when I started learning guitar.
Yeah, at least not the quality that we have now. Like the processes are so much better than they have been in the past. I feel like a lot more time is being put into them. Yeah, I mean, it's been a while since I picked up a Squire and went, oh, this isn't great. Yeah. That's
exactly it. That's exactly what happened to me when I finally started picking some up in not in that shop that I was just talking about. It's actually DC Guitar Studio in Madison, Mississippi. If anybody wants to go check them out in the Jackson area, check them out. I was checking out guitars there and played a bunch of Squires. I was like, these are way better than the Squires of my youth.
The Squires of yore.
So, Mike, we have gone on for quite a while here. We're approaching we've passed the end of the regular episode.
Oh, I didn't realize
we've gone on
that.
a little long. Yes, no, it's okay. We don't really have a hard time here.
Neither do I. I'm
this
fine.
is long form content. It's fine. But we are going to wrap up here, and we're going to move over to the Patreon episode. Again, y'all know how to find us on Patreon. There are links below down in the description. Speaking of the description below, there are going to be links to where you can find Mike. And so,
great.
Mike, they can find you on...
Oh, sorry, you're setting me up.
Set you up.
YouTube, Instagram, the same name. It's the sound of a cartoon sword being unsheathed. It's a stupid name, but it's what I'm stuck with at this point. It's Puisheen. Think of it that way. It should be easier to remember. Puisheen is how that's spelled. But you can find me on YouTube and Instagram. You can find my various writings all over the internet on Fretboard Journal and Premier Guitar and Guitar.com. Most recently, 11 Magazine, where I had the absolute honor and pleasure of meeting, playing, and inspecting Kurt Cobain's Smells Like Teen Spirit Mustang.
Oh, that's so rad.
Yeah, very proud of that. Glad that happened. Can't believe it happened.
So on that, with the writing for Fretboard Journal, are you going to be at Fretboard Summit?
Yeah, I'm planning on it. Planning on it still.
I am also going to be there, dude. We got to get together.
Jason,
Gotta hang out.
absolutely. Let's hang out. Jason really wants me to like give a talk, but I still can't figure out what the heck I would want to even talk about for an hour. So, yeah, let's hang.
Yeah, let's hang. We'll do something. So all those links are going to be below. You can check them out. Just click them. It's real easy. You don't have to be able to spell anything. The link is below, either in the description on YouTube or down in the show notes on whatever platform you're listening to this podcast. So, having said all that, I have decided, since I have stolen, and I've mentioned this in the last few episodes, and I promise listeners I'll quit mentioning because you're going to get tired of hearing it. Since I've stolen most of Blake Weiland's format from the Tone Mob, I really have. I'm unashamed about this, but like where I think we deviate is Blake's really deep into like heavier music,
Yeah,
and I'm really not. So that's where I think we deviate a little bit, but he has his classic questions at the end.
Okay.
And I don't care what your favorite boss pedal is.
Great.
So because it should be the
an-
auto wah. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know if I have an answer for that, honestly.
Good. But my question is a little different. I've been closing out with this episode, with this conversation, because before we started talking, we actually had an intent to talk about the concept of having too much gear.
Absolutely.
And we're going to talk about that over on the Patreon episode. We're going to start there. Assuming that my ADHD doesn't drop that when we go somewhere else before we start recording it.
It's bound to happen.
Yeah, but being someone who borders on too much gear, or maybe crossed that line a long time ago, I also know that you're probably always looking at things. There's always something on the back burner. You're like, oh, if I see that,
yeah.
What's on your horizon? What are you looking for?
What am I looking for currently? Well, I'm always looking still for a proper 60s Trini Lopez with the 1 9/16 nut. That's my favorite. It's a guitar I've wanted for a long time. Right now, I could always use more pedals, but I'm also selling a bunch.
Yeah. I went through that recently, whereas like I trimmed my pedal collection down to where like I really like these, but I also don't have them for any other reason than I like them, but I'm not going to use them.
Yeah, I've got a few of those on my shelf that I need to get rid of. Actually, here's something. What I'm actively looking for right now is a neck for a Jaguar that I'm building out of a body that my friend Jake gave me. I need a Jaguar, Jazzmaster, Mustang, Duo Sonic, or Bronco neck. That's what I'm looking for. And I know I could very easily just order one, but like,
sure,
I don't know. I like restoring old things. So I'm looking for a project that needs frets or something like that. That's what's on my horizon right now. That's the thing that I'm looking for. Otherwise, I'll show it to you.
Okay, yeah.
Otherwise, I've got. Sorry, I hit the mic, but I've got this Jag ready to go. It just doesn't have a neck.
Rad.
This is what I've built out of the body my friend donated to me. So this is an Inca Silver MJT body. It was just the body, and I had an extra guard. I had these Novak lipsticks in a drawer for like 6 years, so I'm very excited to do that. Brodsky plate, mastery setup. I just need a neck.
Yeah, no, I like it.
Yeah, so
and there's that thing about you could order it, but see if you're like me. All right, do you like the hunt as much as you like the acquiring the thing?
I do enjoy the hunt. I do enjoy. I like a little wheeling and dealing. I like to get in the fray and go back and forth, go toe to toe with a real tough cookie. I do enjoy the hunt, and I like I can order stuff. Yeah, and that's fine. But when I find the right thing, like there is some dopamine rush that I get. My brain lights up like a Christmas tree, and I go, that's the thing. That's what I've always wanted. So yeah, I do like that, but even more so, I do like rescuing. I do like rescuing something that's been neglected, something that's needed work for a while and somebody doesn't want anymore. So yeah, I do take pride in that part of it as well. So yeah, I'm not as keen to order a neck with whatever specs. I get into the weeds on specs when really what I want is a vintage Fender maple rosewood thing. Like that's
right,
nothing fancy. So yeah,
awesome. Yeah, we'll talk about specs in the Patreon episode, but I noticed that like you know exactly the nut width you like. You know
Yeah.
exactly the things you want. And I really love that about you, and like I wish I could be that person, whereas like I'm like put it in my hands. I'll know if I like it or
Yeah.
not. Like I genuinely don't know. So
Well, that's why I know is that I've put so many in my hands. I've played thousands upon thousands of vintage Jazzmasters and Jaguars. So like I know exactly the specs that work best for me. So
yeah,
that's what I go for.
Sounds right. Well, awesome. Well, we're gonna head over to Patreon. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast and hanging out.
Yeah, I'm so thrilled to be here. Thanks for talking to me, Philip.
We'll have to do it again for sure.
Absolutely.
I can already tell because there's obviously so much more Star Trek to talk, and we need to. I mean, we got to get to Deep Space Nine, and we got to get to. I mean, yeah, it's a whole thing.
love
so,
Cisco.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings, but that's okay. We'll talk about that on another time. I know that shocked face.
How dare you speak ill of our emissary?
That should be the thumbnail, but it's not gonna be because I do a different thing entirely. But anyway, listeners, thank you so much for your support. Listening, Patreons, thank you for your support. I appreciate it a whole bunch. Thank you for listening every week, especially if you do listen every week. In the meantime, though, y'all know where to find me. Click all the things, come over to Discord. But until we talk next time, be good to yourselves, be kind to each other, and make some noise.